Hello, chat. Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing today? Getting
Streamulman
things
says,
set up on my end.
Kenshogo is now live streaming where winds meet. Jianghu events unleashed hash where winds meet hash WW size 4 hash honk cup.
That's right. I think I'll pause my other screens monitoring. Yesterday I had some problems keeping my stream healthy. Let's see. Oops. This is Mystic Skill upgrade. Oh, equipment enhancement guide. That. What is this to? All right. It's the news. 220. That was 3 days ago. 5 players. Hmm. Oh, interesting. All right. Is my pasta still cooking? 3 more minutes. Hmm. Boiling over a little. Make sure it's not overcooked. Let's see. Oh, it's already soft. It's very soft. I think we're done. Pull it a little bit early. Try not to overeat. Okay, maybe I'll just eat half of it. Pasta for dinner. Uh-oh. That's not good. Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna do something crazy. Do something pretty crazy. I don't think it's a good idea, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Got some disaster going on. Need to resolve this disaster. It's getting worse and worse. Okay. Definitely not good. Hmm. Okay. I'll let that kind of soak. I don't know what to do with it, but anyhow, let's have some pasta. Six spoonfuls. We'll get our pasta sauce.
Jai 563 says, hey.
Hey Jai, how's it going? Just making myself some dinner. Some pasta.
Jai
How are you
563
today?
says, tired.
Tired. Feeling a little tired myself.
Jai 563 says,
You know,
how about you?
relax with some gaming. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Kind of stayed up late last night and then had some things to do today, so I am a little tired. Luckily tomorrow will be a very light day, so should be able to recover. Okay. Let's get started. What events do we have? First of all, let's do a check-in event. Sign in. There's a show of splendor. What's going on here? Obtained 5 new Jing. Offer some flags to people. All right. Have a good nap.
Jai
Wow, people are actually
563
liking
says,
mine.
all right, I'm going to run off. I'm going to
468
take a nap.
likes. Turn the audio up. Yep, thanks for stopping by. Maybe if you're on later, we could team up or something. All right, SpongeBob. There's my SpongeBob. 473 likes. The top-rated SpongeBob. How's the SpongeBob? It's like backwards. All right. Joyful activities. Let's see if we got anything to do here. I think we finished them all. Yep, they're all maxed out. No more coins to spend. All right, well, it's fine. Oh, I got the coin before I got the die. Alright, that's fine. Either way. I don't really need the dies. I'm not really dying anything. Wait. Shows from February 26th. That's 3 days, so. I could just like somebody else's. Who am I gonna like? Hmm.
Organla2 says, "Hello streamer, I came across your channel, and I see great potential I can help you grow with. 3,000 real followers, 1,000 active viewers, and chatters, full subscriber support, everything you need to get verified, become a partner, and start earning up to $100/hour from your streams. If you are ready to level up your channel, contact me. WTS app, plus 44,7,480,316,000.
Hmm. Alright, let's do our bounty. Next bounty. Where those birds go? There they are. It's one bird. Where'd the other bird go? Oh, there it is. Watch your feathers. Ow! Self-sufficient. I like that.
Streamulment says, thank you for following Elysibron 2214.
Hello. Hello, Alice.
Elysibron 2214 says, at work RN, but I'll pull up with my crew for your next stream. Add me up on Discord username, Lysabit1.
Wow. Let's watch some Brave videos.
Had worked on this game for nearly a decade.
Okay, so this is about Riot.
You know, with the High
Riot's
Guard
empire is
situation,
falling apart. Let's see what they say.
kind of made sense. It's a new company that doesn't have all the money in the universe. But this one's about Riot. And they do have a lot of money, though they're struggling to put the S in Riot Games, because their most recent game launched a month ago. Yes, a new game from Riot. Loads of people have no idea, though. I kinda had no idea. Now, the development team has just been cut in half, and it's just the latest in a string of
I've never heard
money-driven
2x
decisions
KO,
because
then I don't play
maybe
fighting
Riot's
games either,
infinite
so.
money tap is running dry. You see, a decade ago, League of Legends was unstoppable, so Riot expanded. New genres, new games. They bought indie teams outright and spent millions trying to build a grand empire. And then, post-pandemic, something seems to have changed. We've seen them circle the wagons around League's monetization. You know, $300, $400 skins. Ouch. There's experiments like Riot Forge, which seemed promising, but were killed. There's Hightail being cut loose. And now Riot are so afraid of losing out that they won't even try to give a game a chance if it doesn't succeed off the bat. And to me, it's an insane story, because maybe this game could have got word of mouth over time, or any of those things that could have got people into it. I don't know about you, but most of the people I know, even ones who do care about fighting games, had kind of no idea, didn't really notice that it launched. This is weird, so let's get into it. The game is called 2XKO. Not exactly the most SEO-friendly title, not exactly the most memorable one. Maybe that didn't help them, but their staff had worked on this game for nearly a decade, and some were laid off with about 30 minutes notice. On February 9th, 20 days after launch, Riot announced that 50% of the dev team, around 80 people, would be laid off. Something went deeply wrong with the launch of Riot's very own fighting game. And the thing is, we know this is because of the weak console release.
Who did the
And it was happening
marketing
just 3
for
months
that?
after PC early access. And we know because Riot said it themselves. Here's a quote. As we expanded from PC to console, we saw consistent trends in how players were engaging with 2XKO. The game has resonated with a passionate core audience, but overall momentum hasn't reached the level needed to support a team of this size long term. You know, it's funny, for a company who really does seem to be okay with investing lots of money into big projects that will take a long time, say the MMO, seems they weren't willing to invest the time needed for this game to be live and perhaps grow and improve based on player feedback. Because, I'm going to be real with you, something like this happening, I think, is counter to the goal of this game eventually turning right. So what happened is the team is being downsized. Laid off staff will get a chance to apply for jobs elsewhere within Riot, and anyone who can't will get 6 months of severance. But judging by those who have already announced they were laid off, there are fighting game specific staff who simply won't be able to jump ship to somewhere else within Riot. They're just not making other games like it. As for the game itself, it ain't dead. Riot still have plans to support development and have community-led competitive play, you know, just in a way that reflects how much money they think they can make from it. I mean, they're still teasing and showing off new characters, so the game isn't dead. But here's the thing with this game. 2KXO was always going to struggle. It's a free-to-play niche subgenre of fighting game that I think would always be tough to make money from, especially when the competitors are paid products. You see, even with heavily monetized cosmetics and battle passes, 2XKO never really had the roster to support massive spending. Now, their new smaller dev team does mean lower costs, sure, but this pragmatism feels absurd the second you zoom out and look at the overall picture, because this game was in development for 10 years, and Riot somehow didn't have a problem with it until now. So what's happened? What's changed? There's one thing you need to know, and it kind of kicks off the whole trajectory of this. In 2016, it was a bit of a different Riot Games. Now, they purchased Radiant Entertainment. This was part of the same surge of acquisitions and investment that led them towards Hightail, Riot Forge, and even to Valorant. You know, obviously that one worked out. And it wasn't some random indie pickup either. No, Tom and Tony Cannon are the people who launched EVO, and they worked on the creation of the rollback netcode. The big thing that everyone talks about in the FGC. The thing that, you know, devs would be hounded to add because without it, it just feels completely antiquated. So these aren't guys who just participated in the fighting game community. They quite literally built the infrastructure that a lot of the FGC runs on. Now, their studio had been building Rising Thunder. It was a free-to-play fighter that they were making with Seth Killian, another FGC legend, also being on board, so there was real pedigree and talent. Now, the game was cancelled after the Riot acquisition, though it was released to the community with open source servers. Pretty sweet, but obviously it's not that game that Riot acquired them for. They acquired them basically because of their experience. So instead, the Cannons and their team shifted to Project L. Project L is the game that would become 2XKO. And if anyone could make a fighting game work at Riot, it was surely this team and these people. Now, in 2019, they confirmed a new fighting game was in the works with some early hints that would feature League of Legends characters. Tests in 2023 and 24 revealed the name of the game, 2XKO. Of course, named because you would need 2 knockouts to win. That's kind of cute. But, well, if you're a League of Legends player, you maybe won't know what that is, naturally. If you're any other human, you may recognize KO and think knockout, so sure, a fighting game. But it doesn't feel like a brand. It feels like a cute descriptor. And honestly, it's my opinion that that name and such a misfire with branding just completely killed the chances that this would have. I think this was a negative multiplier on everything that they did. Look at other game names. Killer Instinct, Street Fighter. They just make more emotional sense than the silly name that this game has. Especially because while they had League characters, there was a massive lack of branding and the cross-promotion stuff wasn't really that successful. And unlike Hightail, which launched a week earlier, 2XKO just couldn't break through the January doldrums to reach big new audiences. But it might actually be Hightail that exposes 2XKO's biggest problem. Because just like that game, Riot clearly decided that they needed to make money, and the 10 years of development suddenly needed to deliver. Emphasis on the suddenly. And now for the context that makes this all click. So whenever Hightail was cancelled, it was because Riot could no longer invest the funds necessary to ship the game as intended being the big operative there. Because even though Hightail was launched and has been a big success, it's not the type of success that Riot would have wanted. To Riot, Hightail had to be a Riot-quality AAA game across all of the different platforms. That's why, as an example, they did the big engine rewrite, which humongously damaged the development process of that game, and of course, that's all work that has been scrapped for the Hightail that we now have. And what that insane scope meant is that Hightail was just a game that would happily be taking Riot money to build this big Riot-quality AAA thing forever, until something changed at Riot. And they suddenly needed something that needed to be shipped or sold, and relatively quickly. With Hightail, that was simply not possible because of where it was. 2XKO was almost certainly in a similar place, just that it was eminently more shippable as compared to Hightail. And what's rough is that development team, along with others, like some Hightail people, they were victims of Riot's hubristic belief that things would never change. Because for nearly 10 years, Riot was comfortable just letting developers simply build, simply develop. Now, they'd been fully acquired by Tencent in 2015. They had League of Legends money. Over the next 5 years, they would have Runeterra money, Valorant money, lots of money. And this meant not a lot of near-term financial pressure. They had more cash than they needed. So what they needed to do with that cash was reinvest it. That's a noble goal. But when you get blasé about money, well, reality can hit you damn fast. Let's take a look at the projects. Riot Forge was never going to make games as successful as League. But to Riot at the time, it was about expanding their world. Empire building. Arcane was costly, but for many people, it's the best thing that Riot's ever been involved with, quality-wise. And they brought up indie teams like Hypixel and Radiant to make sure those studios could deliver on the promise of their pitched games. You know, not a game that would come out sort of early access, not really finished, maybe a bit of a high guard situation. No, that they would benefit from the Riot money to fully deliver the promise of their games. Riot could give time, funding, resources, things that are not abundant in the games industry. And they're things that are important to do work. Do you know what game we praised last year for that exact process? It was this tiny little game, I think about bugs, called Silksong. There's a future then where maybe Riot didn't shit out 2XKO, where it actually got time, and its release would have been good enough to capture people's attention. But rather, obviously, something inside Riot changed. Let's look at what happened pretty much the moment that it changed. January 2024, it saw layoffs of approximately 11% of Riot. That's 530 people. Riot Forge was ended. Legends of Runeterra lost staff and shifted to PvE as interest in PvP waned. October brought another round. It was smaller, but it was telling. There was 32 people from the League of Legends team itself. Then came the doubling down on expensive monetization-heavy trends for League of Legends. We've talked about those a fair bit in the last few years. It's often been the likes of gacha systems with, yes, a built-in pity, but a built-in pity that pretty much means you're going to be spending an absurd amount of money to get some of the hyper-expensive skins that they put into that game. Of course, hyper-expensive skins that are fueled by FOMO. Then there's the monetization of loot box changes that had to be walked back so the players still felt that they had a reason to engage with the game. It was crazy. And then by 2025, Hytale was cancelled and sold. Clearly then, the boom years were over, and the projects that remained had to pay the price. And normally when I say that, it would be, you know, like a metaphor or something, but it's actually literal here. They needed to make money. They needed to pay for themselves, and fast. Hytale could not do that. At least not the version of Hytale that Riot would be, comfortable releasing. So that was killed. Then there's Riftbound, the card game, which by all accounts has actually worked out well. It seems highly in demand, stock is hard to come by, so that did succeed immediately. But then there's 2XKO. It had to pay for itself. That meant that it had to come out, and luckily, or unluckily for them, they were close enough to having a releasable product that they had to release it. Of course, it did not immediately work, and clearly Riot is not interested in slow growth. The line needs to go up. It needs to go up fast. And for game development teams, that means that they cannot hone their product market fit while their game is live. I mean, they can try to do that. The 2XKO team probably will try, but they just lost half of their number. And is any potential player of that game going to look at it and think, I know what I'll do. I'm going to spend money in this game that they just laid off half the team of? No. Be it for good or ill, people do actually see their spending in games as a bit of an investment. People don't want to invest in a loser. That, I think, has killed them. Kill might be too harsh. The remaining team are there, but they do just face an uphill battle. Not only do they have to pick up the pieces of the development plans that their colleagues were building and somehow deliver on them, because, they'll have made all of their plans with their team size into account. If you slash the team size, it's not like you can just yeet half the plans away and have something that works. No, you have to replan. That's going to hurt them. Delivering all that will be really hard, and as I said, they've now got to contend with the perception of the layoffs. This game was already a tough pitch. It was peeling players off current and legacy fighting games. Those players have to believe that there's something worth investing their time into learning, and their money into skins. That takes time. That's a real problem, because whenever layoffs happen just 1 month into the full release life of the game, it sends a powerful signal that says, if you haven't started playing this, you actually made the right call. And you shouldn't bother. No, I'm not dumb. I know there's a balance sheet. I know the balance sheet should probably look reasonable. But the thing here is, I think that this was just a little bit self-defeating. Because in managing their balance sheet, I think they have killed any near to medium-term chance of this game experiencing meaningful growth. 2XKO is not dead, but from the outside, sure doesn't look like it's going anywhere. What frustrates me is this didn't have to happen. Riot is not an indie developer who can't afford a few months of running at a loss. Now, they are entitled to cut their losses, sure, especially after 10 years of development and a studio acquisition. But to do so this fast, that's weird. And here's what makes it sting. The game is actually really good. The FGC loves it mechanically. Not all of them. I know it's not one monoblock of people called the fighting game community who all have the same opinions, but it seems genuinely praised in its mechanics. It hit third most downloaded free-to-play title on PlayStation at console launch. So this is not a bad game that failed. It's a good game that got abandoned because the growth curve was not steep enough. Here's the thing. You may remember a long time ago on this channel we talked about a presentation done by Torolf Jernstrom. He was working in the mobile games niche. And this was years ago, but one of the core things was talking about the amount of time it takes from a player to become a payer. And in the game industry, that has only increased and increased over time. But the point basically is, if you launch on console and then kill your game a month later, even per the mobile game stats from that talk, most of your players were nowhere close to becoming a payer. You actually need to let things run. People will buy skins once they get attached to those characters, once they get attached to the game, once they have memorable wins that have came after months and months of getting better. That's when someone buys a skin. So to see a month of weak skin sales on PlayStation and pull the plug, well, even a month, I believe it was 3 weeks. That's stupid. That actually looks self-defeating. I'm kind of shocked.
Oh my
God. This is a really good game. Maybe it's just that Riot didn't have the patience to let that game get into its groove. And in doing this the way that they've done it, they may have just shot it in both of its kneecaps. So yes, it's not dead, but when I say it isn't going anywhere, or it doesn't look like it's going anywhere, yeah, because it can't move anymore. Because Riot have hamstrung it. Because they've done the equivalent of seeing their struggling game lying on the floor and just put up a sign that says, Plague, stay away. Bit of a weird metaphor, whatever, but I think that's the point across. What the hell, man? Ugh, okay, that's it for this video. Killed in the Cradle. And speaking of Killed in the Cradle, there's something that I think a lot of people do on Killed in the Cradle. The shenanigans going on with Discord. You can learn about them here.
Well, I never heard of 2XKO, but if Riot is cutting games like that, what's happening with the Riot MMO? I am, say, an MMO aficionado, and I was looking forward to trying out the Riot MMO, but is it actually going to see the light of day? Riot can't afford things. I don't know. It's a big investment they've been spending for a while. Dalfeng. He's a hype man for sure. Well, I'm not gonna say hype man, but he tends to over dramatize things, I'd say. But let's watch his video. What's he saying?
Before my bed, the moonlight gleams. Can it be frost so sheer and white? I lift my head to find the moon. I lower it and miss my home. This poem is over 1,000 years old, and it is the first thing where Windsmeet wants you to hear before you set foot in He Shi. Where Windsmeet.
quiet night thought. I think I read that. Before my bed, a pool of moonlight. Can it be frost so sheer and white? I raise my head to watch the moon, then lower it, missing my hometown. I remember reading that poem. It's a good poem, I think. Uh-oh, where's the cat? Oh my god, what? I mean, the goat. I mean, duck. Goose. Alright, goose. Going in that lake. Yeah? Oh god. Didn't. No, 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 no. Stay away from me. Stay away from me. Oh my god. Oh shit. Stop. You're going in the lake. Get in the lake. I get another bowl. Sixth bowl. Nice. Alright. Let's pick up these jades. Jade over here. Oh, there's a jade over there. Wine scented jade. How could it be wine scented? That's weird. Alright, let's continue.
Wants you to hear before you set foot in He. Every Chinese person learns it as a child, the way you absorb a lullaby, the way certain words get into your bones before you're old enough to understand why. It is the sound of homesickness in Chinese civilization, the quiet ache of a man alone at night, looking at a moon that is the same moon his family is looking at, somewhere far away, and feeling the distance in his chest like a physical thing. The Where Winds Meet team put this poem at the very beginning of the He trailer as a thesis statement, a signal of exactly what this expansion is about. Once you understand why they chose it, once you understand the actual history buried inside this expansion, everything about what's coming on March 6th lands differently. He is doing something genuinely special, and it all starts with a story most of the world has forgotten. The story of the Jianghu army. 755 CE. The An Lushan rebellion tears the Tang dynasty open from the inside. A civil war so catastrophic, it would take 8 years and millions of lives to resolve, and from which the empire would never fully recover. To fight the rebellion, Tang does what desperate empires do. It pools its best soldiers from the edges to protect the center. The Jianghu army, 40,000 strong at their peak, the sword arm of one of the most powerful empires of its age, controlling territory stretching deep into Central Asia, is stripped of its finest troops and left dangerously exposed on the western frontier. Tibet sees the opening and moves with the kind of speed that changes history. They seize the He corridor, the narrow strip of land connecting China's heartland to the Western territories, and with one strategic move, the road home disappears overnight. Their commander, Guo Xin, surveys what remains of his forces. These men, these sons of the Tang frontier, forged in the dust of Central Asia, looks at the walls of his city and makes a decision that will outlast empires. He holds. What follows is one of the most remarkable stories of loyalty you've probably never heard. Decades pass in complete silence. No supply lines reaching them, no messages getting through, no rescue coming. Just Tang banners flying over a city that the empire they represent can no longer reach, guarded by men who have become something beyond soldiers. Ghosts of a dynasty that doesn't know they're still alive, fighting for a home that has forgotten their names. The Jianghu soldiers had no idea Tang had changed emperors. So thoroughly cut off that decades of imperial succession, new rulers ascending, old ones dying, the entire structure of the empire they served transforming beyond recognition, all of it passed in total silence on the other side of the corridor. And Tang, for their part, had no idea the Jianghu army still existed. Two parties perfectly loyal to each other, separated by an enemy-held road, each one uncertain whether the other was still alive. In 783 CE, Tang finally learns, through a Uyghur trade route, that the Angshi army is still standing, still flying Tang colors, still holding. The entire court is stunned into silence, because by any reasonable calculation, those men should have been dead for decades. But Tang is too wounded internally to send real relief. Too many fires burning closer to home. So they do the only thing they can, and send Guoxin an imperial decree. Formal words of praise, the language of an empire that cannot send what it actually owes. No soldiers, no supplies, no rescue. Just words, carried across a corridor that words alone could not reopen. The Angshi army receives the decree somewhere in the western desert. They read it. They understand what it means, and what it doesn't mean. And then they fold it away and keep fighting anyway. Because that is the only thing left that they know how to do. They hold for decades more, long past the point where holding makes any rational sense. Young men become old men. 10,000 soldiers become 1,000. 1,000 become 100. The faces around the fire change season by season, but the banners above the walls never come down. Eventually, the last city falls. Every soldier who remains dies with white hair. That is why there is a place in this expansion called Bai Tou Cheng, White Hair City, named for the men who held it until they had nothing left to hold with. Those men never went home. They died with their promise intact and their empire out of reach, looking at the same moon that Li Bai looked at, feeling the same distance in their chests, waiting for a rescue that was always one political crisis away from being possible, and therefore never came. This is the ground you are walking into on March 6th. Now you understand why the expansion is called Home Afar. The permanent condition of wanting to be somewhere you cannot reach. The title carrying all that weight in just 2 words. Now you understand why that homesickness poem opens the trailer. And now you understand the dreamscape framing, the surreal imagery throughout, the camels carrying incense burners, the vultures dressed in human clothing, the cities floating in impossible configurations above the desert floor. All of it deliberate. The developers choosing feeling over recreation, building a space where the history can breathe rather than be pinned down. This approach has a name in Chinese artistic tradition, xie yi, the classical painting method, where the goal is capturing what something feels like rather than what it looks like. Loose brushstrokes rather than precise outlines, breathing space between the marks, the emotion underneath the image. Because sometimes, the emotion is the truer thing. The developers built Hershey this way on purpose. Every landscape a brushstroke, every ruin a suggestion, every moonshot in that trailer a quiet echo of a poem written by a man who also never quite made it home. Which brings us to a quick word from today's sponsor, Enjoy GM. If you're looking to buy echo beads for where winds meet, Enjoy GM supports the game, and they're offering discounts compared to official top-up prices. The reason it's cheaper is simple. They operate across different regional markets and pass those savings directly to you. Same echo beads, same account, just less money out of your pocket. The process couldn't be easier. Head to the site, enter your UID, pick your amount, and pay. No account login, no password. Nothing sensitive ever gets shared. And if anything goes wrong, they have 24/7 human customer support ready to help. Thanks to Enjoy GM for supporting the channel. Now, with the history and context painted, let's look at what you're actually walking into on March 6th in concrete terms. Horshi is being framed as the game's largest expansion yet. 3 chapters across 3 separate climates, a huge spread of subregions, new Jianghu legacy questlines, a roster of major bosses across all 3 chapters, and dozens of side quests. The kind of content density that should keep the community fed for months. You access it through a short intro questline that eases you into the dreamscape before it opens fully. Jade Gate Pass launches March 6th. Wind-choked desert, drifting sands, ruins suspended mid-air like the world forgot to finish collapsing. The Western Threshold, the last checkpoint before the known world ended and the frontier began, exactly where the Angshi army watched the road home disappear. Liangzhou opens in April, roughly 4 weeks later. Pale snowplains, a completely different climate, a completely different emotional register. The kind of landscape that changes what silence sounds like when you're standing in it. Qinchuan arrives in May. Ancient mountain paths, open grasslands, the eastern approach, the direction of home, the direction the Anxi army never got to walk. The enemies shift with every landscape too. Different creatures, different ecosystems, each biome feeling like a world with its own identity. Beyond the world itself, Huaxi changes how you move through it in ways the base game never attempted. New interaction powers let you physically manipulate the environment, move objects, solve traversal puzzles, engage with the landscape rather than simply passing through it. And then there is the travel system. Where Winds Meet looked at its vast new desert and decided the correct solution was to let you become a fish, transform completely, glide along glowing channels carved through the sand, and cover ground faster than any mount could manage. A design choice you don't see very often, and based on what Chinese players are reporting, it works beautifully. A free horse mount unlocks through normal zone progression. No payment, no gacha. Just play the game and it's yours. Complete the full map, and the game adds a free outfit exclusive to the region on top of that. After the content drought, the developers understand that the right message right now is generosity, and they are delivering it directly. The combat deserves its own moment. March 6th brings Bamboo Cut, Dust, built around the Everspring Umbrella and the Unfettered Rope Dart. From what's been shown, the Umbrella is described as half support, half DPS, with exceptional mobility, while the Rope Dart leans into chaos and crowd control, fire sparks, wide arc debuffs, enemy grouping. Two weapons that, from the footage, look like they were designed to work as one continuous system. April brings the Hengblade. Think Chinese katana, fast and elegant and devastating, modeled on real historical ring pommel swords excavated from China's Jianghu region. A new martial art path called Stone Split Strength arrives alongside it, giving players who want close-range power a completely different vocabulary than the Umbrella Teleport Chaos of March. The boss's previews have teased are drawn from Chinese mythology, a figure whose silhouette resembles Nua, the goddess who created humanity and repaired the sky when it shattered. A lightning warrior whose attacks hint at story threads the developers are deliberately leaving unresolved. A white stag crowned with head tentacles. And at the very end of the trailer, a massive lion infused with purple energy framed like a final confrontation. Many carry multiple phases on legend difficulty, a mythology lesson you have to earn your way through. One more thing worth saying before March 6th. The developers addressed the localization problems directly in a public letter to the community. They acknowledged that Hersi contains so much narrative content rooted in traditional Chinese history and wuxia culture that it required substantially more time on translation and cultural adaptation, and they committed to doing that work properly. They are also going back to improve the existing localization for Qinghe and Kaifeng. This matters because the story only works if the words carry the weight they're supposed to carry. The developers understand that. Whether they got it right is something we find out on March 6th. There are two homecomings happening on March 6th. The first is yours. After the quiet months, after the waiting, after the content drought that tested this community's patience, where Winds Meet is back, larger and more ambitious than it has ever been, and it has been waiting for you. The second homecoming belongs to men who will never make it, who died with white hair in a city their empire could not reach, their ranks reduced to almost nothing, their banners still flying above walls they had held for decades, who looked at the same moon as their families, across a corridor that politics and war kept closed for the rest of their lives, who kept their promise anyway, simply because that was the kind of men they were. March 6th, you walk the road they couldn't finish. Moonlight before my bed. We're going home.
Hyped? Am I hyped? I think the thing about Where Winds Meet is do we have characters that we really care about, right? I mean, okay, there's some soldiers who never went home, so yeah, we feel bad about them, but hey, we don't feel connected to them, right? You're not telling us a story where we feel connected to the people in the story, then what are you doing, right? At least that's my opinion. That's why I feel not motivated to do story quests. It's like, who are these people? Why do I care about them, right? It's like, it's not compelling to do that. So, yeah. Okay. No. All right, well, let's log out. Come back in. Oh, we do need Jade. Wait, Buddhist Tier Root and Jade Tower Plumes. Okay. Jade Tower Peonies. All right, let's do the Jade Tower Peonies. Did the Buddhist Tier Root. We need to do the Jade Tower Peonies for Jianling. Maybe she could get 7 and then we'll be done with those. Let's see how many we get. Got one. Crickets. Another one. Okay. Maybe we'll be done with it on this run. I mean, how many do you get per run? Who knows? Picking up the peonies, but I'm not getting the drops. The special material drops. A little disappointing. Oh my god. Okay, another one. Good. We probably will finish on this run. Alright. Now what's this? Let's do these. Let's watch another video. Prepare for Heshi's.
The big pushy expansion for Where Winds Meet is about to drop very soon, including new weapons, new bosses, and most importantly, camels. New story missions. New story missions, that's what I wanted to say. And some of you in chat asked me how they should prepare for the next expansion. What they can do in order to be well prepared, where they should be at the moment in terms of gear and stuff. So, which is a fair question because some of the Chinese players said that even though there are not many bosses in Heshi, the bosses that are there are actually pretty damn challenging. Specifically when you are in legendary mode, you want to be well prepared for that. So in today's video, I wanted to give you a quick update on character progression, what you can do in order to get your character on the best possible gear score at the moment, and how to prepare for the next big expansion. And if you like what I'm doing, consider maybe leaving a like and a sub. I just went full-time creator. You would really help me out. Thank you so much, big smoochies. So first of all, this is probably very obvious, is get your oddities done in the game. You have two regions right now. Both regions have individual oddities and you have two NPCs to hand them in, which is this NPC in the first region and this NPC over here in the second region. And it's specifically important that you get all the oddities that are giving you physical defense, physical attack, max HP, like everything that relates to character power, obviously. There's also some unimportant stuff like damage versus bosses. I mean, if you're done with this area, this is not that important anymore, but in order to be prepared for the next expansion, you should at least get all the character related stats maxed out. So finish your oddities. Next up, do you know what really sucks? Realizing that you have been talking in Discord for 10 minutes, but you have been muted. But what also sucks is running out of gold in Where Winds Meet. That can happen. Gold or coins, or 5 dynasty coins as they want to call them, are really important for upgrades in the future, and specifically the martial arts upgrades and stuff can get really expensive. Like if you would get a new weapon to level 85, it would be around 800k. So you should stack up gold as much as possible. First of all, someone in my comment section asked me, do our content creators really play the game? Because he only has 2 martial arts leveled up. Yes, I do. But if I reset one of them, I literally get 500,000 coins back. So if I don't use any of the weapons, I'm gonna reset them. Keep in mind, you lose some coins every time you reset, so don't
overdo it. I recommend you just stick with 2 or 3 martial arts at the same time for now. But let's talk about how you get coins. First of all, let's check out the season shop. The season shop is using the fish currency and you can earn 23,000 per week. And honestly, you don't always need all the fishes every week. Depends on what you need from the shop. So whenever you have fishes left and you don't need anything else, you should consider buying strings of coins. Each of them give you 1,000 coins, and I did the calculation and I get around like 200,000 coins a week because I don't need everything in the shop. So as you can see, I still have 3,900 jade fish left, and I will use them to buy some of these coin packs, basically giving me 100,000 coins. Another thing that they just recently added to the season shop are these golden silk coin bags, and they are actually really good because what it does is you can trade your work stamina, like your crafting stamina, not the stamina you use to do dungeons, but the stamina you use to craft and to build buildings. You can trade this in for coins, and if you don't do a lot of buildings in the game and you don't really craft a lot, you should definitely trade this in for the coins every week, which means you can get a maximum of 300,000 coins a week, which is actually really nice. So these are the 2 major options to get a lot of coins every week. Besides that, I highly recommend you do more exploration. Every chest, every quest in the game will give you coins. And if your character's perception and elegance is high enough, you can unlock this exploration skill, which allows you to see treasure chests around you, which makes it way easier to find chests. What you need for that is aspiration, which you just get by doing quests, perception, which you get through collecting oddities and doing the archery missions on the map, and elegance, which you get through petting kittens and also tasting buff food for the first time. Each kind of buff food you eat for the first time gives you an elegance point. And now you can actually see the chests around your map, which makes it way easier to just collect them. You can even see them around the corner. You just pick them up and there we go. We have just got 800 coins. I mean, 800 coins, but I mean, you can already see, I see the next chest already on my map. And that just keeps going. You can just walk around the map, find one chest after another and just collect them. And that will help you to stack up on more coins. And also other materials as well. And I see the next chest. Jesus. Yeah, I mean, as you can see, I've also been extremely lazy. So yeah. Besides that, you can also go to casual co-op and do all the adventure stuff like running, or like 5 animal frolics, blessed land, which is basically cultivation. It's gonna give you some coins. You have a weekly limit of 175,000, which is pretty good. And for example, for the internal skill cultivation, which is literally just being AFK for 10 minutes, you can get 5,000 coins. So all of this can give you some coins every day. It takes some time. Most of these things can be done AFK, so you can also do all of this stuff to get some more coins. Outside of that, you should also definitely do the weekly raid. Both the official one and also the guild version of the raid both give you around 10,000 coins, but also some other stuff like the gear chests and stuff like that. And outside of that, obviously, also use your stamina. Whenever you have stamina, use it. And it doesn't really matter if you do sword trial or joint battle or campaign bosses. All of them give you the same amount of coins for the stamina you use, which is around 3,200 coins per 20 stamina used. However, if you need the recipes from the sword trial, you should definitely do it until you have the bow and the ring recipe that you need. But outside of that, honestly, there's no need to do the sword trial. You can just stick with a joint battle and just farm here, or you can stick with the campaign bosses, doesn't matter. And honestly, knowing the randoms in the game, I don't recommend trying to do the sword trial if you don't need it. Because there's mechanics, someone fails the mechanics, you're dead. So, yeah. Next up, what I really recommend you guys do, it's kind of obvious, but I still recommend to do it, is all the events, because each of the events can give you important stuff, including in a way node chests, including martial arts custom chests, including coins, including upgrade stones like tuning stones and stuff like that. So make sure you always do all the events that are running. Speaking of using your stamina or energy, however you want to call it in the game, some of you asked me in chat if they should do joint battles or sword trials or solo bosses. What should they use their energy on? Let me explain that. Memplex explains. So you do joint battles when you need ebon iron, which is basically the material that you need to upgrade your mystical skills, like Fire Breath and Drunken Poet and stuff like that. So if you need to upgrade your mystic skills, which you should focus on that. However, if you are in the need of gear, you should definitely focus on either the sword trial or the campaign bosses. There is no big difference between them. They give you the same amount of gear. However, for the campaign bosses, you need to make sure you do the boss that you actually need. Like, for example, Lucky 17 gives you Jadeware or Formbend pieces of gear, while Heartseeker gives you Hawkwing and Eagle Rise pieces of gear. And compared to the sword trial, there's one major downside on these bosses. They do not drop greaves, which is this kind of gear. In order to get greaves, you need to do specific bosses that only drop greaves, which is the God of Avarice or which is Tianying, both of which are not the easiest bosses. If you struggle with them, it's a little bit more annoying. So in the actual sword trial, you can get all pieces of gear. Obviously, you also get chests, but from both modes, you can drop chests that allow you to choose a piece of gear. So technically, if you are fine with these greaves bosses, it doesn't matter if you do sword trials or campaign bosses, it's basically the same. However, do not bother with outposts, because joint battles are literally outposts. Just you do 5 of them in a row and you do it with other people, so it's quicker. Speaking of mystic skills,
I like to
you
do
should
myself.
get your mystic skills to tier 5 and you should max them out. You should definitely do that. Mystic skills can become really strong if you max them out. And each tier adds new effects. For example, some skills like Soaring Spin, for example, add more effects to it. Like on tier 5 Soaring Spin, for example, the first animation is a dodge, which helps you to dodge things. Like it basically gives you an invincibility frame, which also counts as a perfect dodge. And on tier 6, it even becomes a golden skill, which cannot be parried or blocked. And also the damage goes up, vitality usage goes down, so it's really important to get mystic skills to the next level. And we might get tier 6 in the future, so you should prepare for that. So first of all, do joint strikes to farm ebon iron and get all of your mystic skills to max out, like the mystic skills you use, obviously. Besides that, you should always buy these chests with these purple materials. Really important. Whenever you can, buy them, because you will need a lot of these materials, specifically on tier 6 and beyond. We will need way more of them. But not just that, you can also prepare and already farm these materials in order to be prepared for the next big expansions and updates. And if you want to find out what you
That's
need,
what I'm
you just
doing.
go to one of your maxed out mystical skills. Mystic skill. I always call it mystical skills. It's mystic skills. I'll never fucking get this right. You go to one, you press reset, and you can see what kind of material you need. And you can also see what you need to gather in order to drop it. So for example, in order to
I've been
upgrade my
gathering
frog
all of
further, I
those.
will need Beauty's Plume, which I get from the plant Beauty's Garment. However, you have to understand these purple items, they are not 100% drop chance. They have a low drop chance. So first of all, I need to track Beauty's
Very
Garment.
low
What
drop
you can also
chance.
do is just open the map and go to this plant icon here and make sure you check mark the plant that you want to track down, which is Beauty's Garment. And then you just collect all of these flowers. You also check if there's others around the map, so you collect them all. Also make sure you pop some buff food for critical herb gathering. And usually buff food has 2 effects, either herb gathering or hunting. So if you use it, you see which kind of effect you get. If you didn't get the effect you want, you have to eat it again. So I got a herb gathering now, and all I want to do is just go around the map and collect these plants. And I got Beauty's Plume, which is actually extremely lucky. I can tell you this is not always the case, so it only happens if you're actually lucky. So this time I didn't get it, for example. So I want to collect all of these plants around the map, and I want to do that for technically all the plants that I need, like all the purple materials that I need in order to prepare, because
That's what
for
I'm
each
doing.
upgrade we will need more and more. And as you can see, even with the chest, like I'm really lazy, I didn't collect all of that stuff. I just used the chests, and as you can see, my Drunken Poet is still tier 4 because I'm missing vicious fruit. And I have collected all the vicious flower before. Unfortunately, I've been really unlucky. Like the last time I collected all of these, I got one purple item. So if you're not as lazy as me, definitely try to do this daily in order to prepare to upgrade your mystic skills to the next tier whenever this is ready. You can also collect them in the multiplayer world. They have a way shorter respawn time there. However, there's also people with horses, auto collecting them with macros in the multiplayer mode, so don't bother too much about that. Specifically when we're talking about these kind of plans that are like really close together, like it's macro farming them is pretty easy. And you can also go to a friend's world and collect them there. Obviously, he is not going to be able to collect it then, but you can collect them in your friend's world. So it's not necessary to do that on a daily basis, but I can tell you it will definitely help you to get ahead of others. And it also helps you to, by the way,
Sylvie Zero
the
says,
stuff that you need in order
Tomcats on Kick said he wants to stream with you.
Divine
He is
and also
live
gives
right
you
now.
A lot of Divine-craft material, which you can basically put on your weapons. So to keep it short, it's not the most thrilling gameplay loop, but it is definitely worth it. Like, if you do it, you don't waste your time. Okay, next topic. This one is extremely important. Inner ways. So if you want to be competitive, your inner ways should be on tier 6 or at least tier 5 at the moment. In order to be able to accomplish this, I recommend you really stick with 4, maybe 5 inner ways maximum. And don't worry, it's not going to lock you out from other classes in the future or whatever, because you can always just convert your inner ways to other inner ways. But it's important to note that first of all, you need to transfer golden inner ways to golden inner ways in order to get the same amount. This is really important, that you will get exactly the same amount. And it's also important that you don't transfer inner ways from a path to inner ways without a path, which is basically these gray hat ones, because then if you do that, you will definitely lose some. So you always have to do from a path into a path and not into pathless, and also the same quality into the same quality. That's important. But talking about these inner ways, they make your character way stronger and make your moveset way stronger. So first of all, obviously, you should find the best inner ways for your current moveset and your playstyle. That's also kind of affecting which inner ways you want to use. You should use all the options in the game to get inner way chests in order to get these inner ways to the next level. So let me talk about all the ways that you have. First of all, you should recycle all the inner ways that you don't need and use these recycled book plates in order to buy chests to get new scripts and hopefully the scripts that you want. And let me give you a tip for that to make it really easy. What you should do is you should go to your inner way menu, then you should go to tips exchange. You should press this button over here on the top right and go to tips recycle, and you should lock all the inner ways that you want to keep by basically just clicking on one of the scripts and pressing this button. By that, you lock them so they will not be recycled. Then you can add this check mark over here, which is auto add unlocked nodes. And you don't see it right now because I don't have any, but all those that are not locked would be check marked right now. So I can press confirm and just recycle them. It's way quicker. And after that, I can just buy chests, which are sold out for me right now. I can't buy more, so I'm gonna restock them soon. But you can buy them as much as you can. Then you go back to this menu, tips recycle. It's automatically marked already. You can just confirm, buy these chests again, and do this loop until you can't, basically, or until the chest is sold out. This way you keep recycling the inner ways you don't want into the inner ways that you want. Besides that, you obviously want to buy the chests in the season shop every week. So you can get 40 chests in total every week from the season shop. Really important. You can also go to the path trials, do the path trials, and with the currency that you get there, you can also buy some of these chests from the legacy exchange. It's only 5 chests, but it's 5 chests. But speaking of the path trials, you should, by the way, do them because your specific path trial is gonna give you scripts for your inner ways, so you should definitely do that. As you can see, I just swapped to Splendor. I did all the Umbra ones, but actually I'm not playing this build anymore, so I need to do the Splendor ones now. But it's going to give you scripts for your inner way. And also using your energy in the game, like your stamina, is helpful for that as well, because each of these game modes also drop in a way node chests, and it doesn't really matter which kind of game mode you do, they all drop the same amount of chests, which is 1 chest each 20 energy used. You should also check all your encounters, all your quests. Some of these quests also give you in a way node chests. I don't have any quests left with in a way node chests, so I've done all of them, but I still have a lot of quests, but I just pick those out that give me chests. And if you want to go full hardcore and you want to max out your inner ways as far as possible, you go to develop and you go to path guide. Each weapon combination has some challenges, and you have to ignore the season challenges, but you have to focus on the non-seasonal challenges. And after finishing these challenges, you can go to all path challenges, and every 10 finished non-seasonal challenges will give you 20 chests, which is actually really huge. I have seen some people that already have 100 of these challenges done, and honestly, in order to do that, what you have to do is really just transfer all your inner ways and your weapon progress to another build. And you can't do this like too much, so you might be stuck with a build that you don't want to play for 1 week. That's the downside of this, which is why I'm not doing it. I have been playing these 2 builds so far, so I have 18 challenges finished, but technically in order to get tank and heal on the same level, I need to fully swap to them, and if my swap attempts are used for this week, I will most probably be stuck with this build until 1 week after, so I don't really want to do that. But if you want to get the most out of the game, the most possible in a way node chests, you should consider doing that. All right, let's talk about the next topic, which is gear. So obviously you should have level 81 gear fully attuned. Since we can re-roll on one of the substats and also re-roll the attunements, I honestly recommend you just go for legendary gear right away. I wouldn't really bother with purple gear, specifically since we have an event running right now with where you could get more drops out of your currently used energy, which helps you to get legendary gear pretty quickly. What's also important is that you can now put both PvE and PvP attunement on the same piece of gear. So you don't need 2 pieces of gear for the same slot for a PvE and PvP build. You can put it on the same slot. And what you do is you literally just press this button and then you save the build as PvE, and press this button, save the build as PvP, and whenever you switch builds, like the saved builds, it will automatically have the attunement that you have saved in this build. Again, you can also re-roll on substats. For that, you need these retuning stones Falcon, which you get from the Battle Pass shops, but you can only re-roll 1 substat per piece of gear, and we only have 1 of these stones per week. So we can just technically just retune once a week. And the same goes for the attunements. You can also re-roll on the attunements. In order to do that, you also need these alteration stones, which you get through
My
the
least
Battle
favorite
Pass
part
shop.
of this game.
But you can also get these 2 stones through other ways, like for example, doing the path trials. So we do have the option to re-roll right now. So I do recommend you go for that perfect piece of gear. I also recommend that if you attune gear, you should definitely consider waiting until you have enough melodic stones to only have golden substats or even prismatic substats. I don't have a prismatic one to show you right now. It's basically, it looks like a rainbow icon. And lastly, you should also try to get a 81 bow and 81 ring. You do that by unlocking the recipe over the sword trial and then go into your inventory, press the craft button, and then you can see the ring and bow crafting. Usually you get a blue bow out of it with a 10% chance. You get a purple one with a 3% chance. I was really lucky with that one. You get a golden one. Same for the ring. Honestly, you are fine with a purple one. Try to get a purple one. Try to get a purple ring, a purple bow, attune them, and you're good. One thing that's interesting to know, though, is that we realized that the substats of the gear make a huge difference in arena and in your overall damage, specifically when we talk about affinity rate or crit rate. Affinity rate specifically for Stretch Sword Heavenquaker, crit rate for example, dual blades and rope dart. I honestly recommend to make sure you have good substats, and if you don't have good substats, eventually consider just upgrading another legendary piece of gear for better substats, because we realized that some people had 40% crit rate, and we also realized that some people, thanks to their gear, had 90% crit rate, and they literally dealt sometimes even double the amount of damage. So it's making a huge difference both in PvE and in Arena to optimize your substats. So if you have a piece of gear where everything is recommended, but there's no crit rate on it, no affinity rate on it, honestly consider just upgrading a new piece of gear and getting these substats on it, because it's really, really worth it. Another thing that I recommend you make sure is finished is your arsenal. You should make sure that all of your arsenal levels have reached the peak of mastery. So before, you could actually go beyond mastery and you got max HP the further you got above the maximum mastery level. However, this is not the case anymore, so everything above the mastery that you can see right here is not worth it anymore. So you should try, for example, for level 71 gear to at least have 3300 mastery. Everything beyond is unimportant, but if any of these levels is not maxed out, consider using the season shop to buy chests with gear for that level, attune it, and put it into the arsenal. Because maxing out these arsenal levels, like the gear that you can put in here, will give you permanent stats for your character, and they will be huge. So make sure you finish that. Another tip is don't be like me. Just don't be like me. Don't be like me. I am a lazy piece of shit. Do your quests. Do all the quests that you have open. Do the encounter quests, exploration quests, lost chapters, obviously main story, or the event quests, because they will allow you to get enlightenment points to unlock more talents, because we just got more talents in the game, which include stuff like constitution, max HP, physical defense, overall just improving your character. So doing all the quests is worth it. Opening chests also gives you enlightenment points, main story, side story, legacy, exploration. If you're not as lazy as I am, you should probably already be further. So yeah, just do exploration, do quests. It is more important than you think. Besides that, I think this is really obvious, but your martial arts should be maxed out, and increasing your martial arts level will get really expensive on the next level. So make sure you have enough gold. Also, make sure you have enough of these materials. You can farm them by killing mobs in the outposts, basically. Each outpost will drop different items. So as you can see, some weapons use different materials, but you get them from outposts. But also, we will need more of these martial arts custom tips, and we will need way more in the future. So I haven't bought them for a while. Honestly, I just ran out of these boxes because I just thought I never had to buy them. I always had enough. Well, trust me, in the future, we won't have enough. So you should consider also buying them in the season shop, at least for 1 or 2 weeks, to have some of them stacked up, because we will definitely need way more. Specifically, if you want to play multiple builds, you will need way more. In terms of gear enhancement slots, you cannot be maxed out at the moment. So no one is maxed out on these slots at the moment, basically because we are capped on these Howling Ores Falcon Stones. So make sure in the season shop you always buy them as well. Really important. And after buying them, of course, increase your gear enhancement slots as far as you can. Another thing that you should consider is if you want to play the new Umbrella Rope Dart build, you should consider already preparing a Umbrella and a Rope Dart level 81 weapon in order to switch to this build and already have a weapon ready for that. Honestly, when it comes to Moblade and Tang Dao, I think we will already have a level cap increase until this releases, so don't really bother about creating a Moblade so far, but you should consider preparing Umbrella and Rope Dart for the Hershey release for the first region. And as a last thing for you today, I wanted to go over the season shop and talk about things that you should definitely consider getting and things that are kind of optional. So Oscillating Jade, if you have around 500, you should be good. Maybe get a few more, but since we are currently really capped on these Howling Ore Falcons, it's not gonna be a hard bottleneck for you guys. The string of coins, we just talked about it. Get it when you need it. Howling Ore Falcon, get it every week. 100% important. In a way, no chest, same. get it every week. Really important. Martial arts custom tips, honestly, you should consider buying a few of them now because we will be short on them in the future. Mystic skill breakthrough boxes, really important. Always get them. Life supply support boxes, well, I don't really think that's so important right now. You can get them, but I don't think this is really important. If you're short on coins, rather just buy coins. These bags, these golden silk bags, they only require you to transfer stamina, like building or crafting stamina into these bags. Always do it. If you don't build, if you don't craft, do it. Commerce coins, nice to have. Get them. It's really cheap, so just get these commerce coins. We will need more of them in the future. When it comes to gear chests, you can definitely get them. Specifically, if you want to try and get better, perfect gear slots, if you need prismatic, like items with prismatic guaranteed trades and stuff like that. So you should consider getting the gear chests for your current level every week to just keep optimizing your gear. But at some point, it's not going to be that important anymore. So if you are short on gold and you think your gear is absolutely fine until the next gear level drops, maybe consider using the fishes not for gear chests, but actually for coins, because it would be 2,500 fishes that you use for that, which would make quite a decent amount of coins. Legendary gear exchange, I mean, you have to use these gear echoes, which you get from doing dungeons. So if you have them, use them. Each level has a different gear echo, so they're not really used for anything else. So make sure to get the attunement stones, get the golden guaranteed stones. You can also buy these chests, which give you the choice of gear that you want. So this should help you to get the gear that you need easily. Specifically, if you use the campaign bosses in order to grind your gear, you can get the graves here. That's the easiest way. And tuning stones and stuff like that. So if you have these stones, use them. In terms of professional development, I honestly think we should get the career notebooks right now. Because you might have realized whenever a new health pot drops or new scripts drop that give you good buffs, we need to increase our scholar and healer level. So preparing that, already buying the notebooks and increasing the level of healer and scholar is definitely worth it. Just keep doing that. But you don't really need these boxes. They will just make your actual healing process or gift of gap process easier. I don't really think we need this at all. If our basic mastery is high enough. At least make sure you get the career notebooks though. In terms of Battle Pass shop, if you own the Battle Pass, you should definitely get the custom martial arts breakthrough chest, also the custom martial arts upgrade chest. These give you the items that you need in order to upgrade your martial arts in the future. You should also get the mystic skill breakthrough support box. Really important. And you should get the retuning stone falcon and the alteration stone falcon, also extremely important. Another good thing about the season pass shop is if you run short on pots, you can buy a lot of pots here. You can get a lot of pots here, so really recommend to use this option if you already have all the cosmetics. I did that in the past season passes, so now I can technically use a lot of my currency in the season pass for these medicines, which makes me stocked up for all the boss fights without having to think about my pots, which is a good thing. All right, but that is basically it for this video. I hope thanks to this video, a lot of you guys feel more prepared for the upcoming Hershey expansion. I am pumped for this expansion. I will do guides on the new weapons. I will also do a vlog on my time in China, by the way. This is still coming, but I'm going to drop the vlog after the official Hershey expansion live stream, which is going to happen on 27th at 2 a.m. UTC. So you should definitely check this live stream out because my badass is in there. So check it out. I can't wait. I'm probably gonna react to it live on stream. So if you want to say hi on stream, just come say hi. But they also dropped a trailer for the big Hershey update, and I reacted to it because I thought the trailer was absolutely peak. And I also explained it because there was a lot of things that, specifically in the story of the Hershey update, if you don't know some of the things, you will probably not understand the story. So if you want to check that out, the video is right here. It's a good video. Check it out. It's a really good one. And if you don't have the time for that, thank you for watching this video. I see you in the next one. Have a great rest of the night. Memplex out.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to do. I think I'm doing most of it. 197. All right.
Hi friends! As promised, I'm going to show you how I glazed this bowl using Mako Light Flux Reactive Red by Spectrum. I used Stroke and Coat Hot Tamale and Amico's Deep Red Fire Brick. So we'll just get started on how to make this beautiful red peacock technique bowl. So I'm starting out with this ZM tool. I don't know if I say that correctly, but I'm making U's along the rim. I have a throwing line that I'm using as a guide to make like U's or V's you could do. But anyway, this tool I will link in the description box. It's XIEM. I can never pronounce it. Zim, I don't know. But it's an applicator bottle that you can use for all kinds of things. So I'm using it for the flux. And I'm just making U's for my first row. And I didn't film the rest of the rows because I got so discouraged by messing up. You'll see that in the next clip. But honestly, it doesn't even matter. Like the mess up, like it was fine. So you'll see. Hey, I really screwed this up. This is what happens when I don't draw lines. It gets all messy. So I just like went with it because I didn't want to wash it off and do it all over again. So I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just gonna go with it. Once it fires, it's gonna be all drippy and oozy, so I don't think it's gonna matter. Like these lines were not even at all, like at all. So, all right, let's get to it. I'm gonna be using fire brick and maybe some dots of hot tamale. I haven't decided yet. And then I'm gonna cover it with Spectrum's Reactive Red. That's my plan. Let's see how it comes out. Okay. So I'm applying dots rather thickly of the fire brick. So I load up that brush and do the dots. However, you can use an applicator bottle to just squeeze out dots, but I don't know, I did not do that
All right.
because I didn't want it to like run down the pot, which maybe that would have been cool. I don't know, but you can do it either way. The brush, you'll see, takes longer because I go over it like 800 times. Not really 800, but you know what I mean. So I just did one coat. Now I'm going back and doing two, really dabbing it on there. And you'll see I end up using like, I don't even know, we'll count as we go. This is the second coat, but there's a lot of coats of that deep fire brick red. You can't go wrong with adding as much glaze as possible on the inside of the bowl, in my opinion. So starting on the second row, which was kind of hard to follow because the flux lines are so like not even. So I was just kind of throwing dots wherever I thought would look fine. Yeah, so I'm adding the second row, and I'm just going to be doing this for quite a while and adding coats, you know?
Raj, oh. Guess guess I better watch about them quick.
So as I'm watching, that's the third coat so far on the top row. And I just remember making that brush really heavy with glaze. Almost like those dots were going to run down the pot, just really loading it up. I did decide to use the hot tamale, which I'm so glad I did. And I'm just putting thick dots of that all the way around. And I believe I just went over that twice, like did two times of that hot tamale.
All right, we're gonna sit down and collect some points. Take about 15 minutes. Yeah, I think I'll take about 15 minutes. All right, let's set a timer for 15 minutes then. All right. Okay, we're gonna speed this up.
I really wanted it to pop and move and such. So. All right, so I decided to add another row of dots here, this last row. And now I'm gonna do the rim. So I decided just to add some lines on the rim of the hot tamale, and I'm really glad that I did that. You'll see on the last clip of this video, you'll see the bowl in different lighting. I really like that hot tamale with this combo. Oh, and I should mention the clay I'm using is standard 266 dark brown.
$97.
Okay, now that the inside is finished with that design, I'm starting the outside,
18.
flipping it over, and I'm going to do 3 times of the deep red fire brick on the rim only. So that's what you see there. Flipping it over, and now I'm going to start my 3 coats of reactive red. And I'm really globbing it on. And you kind of have to get in between those flux and dots because they're raised. So like, I don't want them to like fall off. So I'm like really slopping it on top of that just to get it in there. So now I'm gonna do the outside all over with the reactive red on top of the fire brick only at the top. So I'm really just lathering the glaze onto the outside, nice thick, even coat with, I'm using a Mako fan brush, which those are amazing, by the way. Highly recommend. Second coat of reactive red on the inside. Now on the outside, I only did the 3rd coat of reactive red over the rim where the fire brick is because I wasn't sure like if that would run or not. So last and final coat on the inside, and then we are gonna go fire this baby, and I will show you in the next clip what this bowl looks like under different lighting. All right, let's dissect this bowl in different lighting and up close. So here you can see the fire brick and the hot tamale and the flux. I really like that hot tamale and I'm glad that I used it. I think I'll use more of it on this combo next time. And I don't think the messy lines really mattered with like, unless you want really, really tight lines for your peacock technique. But it's art, it's creativity, so how can it be wrong? So yeah, really beautiful though. You flip it over. Oops, watch me break it. That would be a sin. So that's just the red fire brick and the reactive red. And that's pretty on its own too. So anyway, I just want to get a real good close-up of it for my beautiful people. I hope you had a wonderful day, and I hope you found the video helpful, and I hope you guys play around with it and make some beautiful apps. Until next time, bye.
Alright, Sunday piece. Big packet. Nobody's falling for it? Come on. Got one. All right. Any worse ones? No. Oh, I got scammed. Got scammed. Scammed. They're scamming. Oh, she got the aura going. Just got this class thing. Just got the room. Did I get any more? Nope, just 3. Cascades and stoneware.
Time.
Let's see.
It's really beautiful. Really, I think looks like I'm in. We are gonna. All right.
So it melted in. It turned out well. What was in the middle? She did a little swirl. I think everything looked good except for the swirl. Let's see. The melting definitely looked
Let's
good.
dissect this bowl.
Yeah, definitely looked good. I don't like the swirl.
In different lighting and up close. So here you can see the fire brick and the hot tamale and the flux. I really like that hot tamale and I'm glad that I used it. I think I'll use more of it on this combo next time. And I don't think the messy lines really mattered with like, unless you want really, really tight lines for your peacock technique. But it's art, it's creativity, so how can it be wrong? So yeah. It's really beautiful though. Let me flip it over. Whoops, watch me break it. That would be a sin. So that's just the red fire brick and the reactive red. And that's really pretty on its own too. So anyway, I just wanted to get a real good close-up of it for my beautiful people. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you found the video helpful, and I hope you guys play around with it and make some beautiful pots. Until next time, bye.
That was very nice. Frozen pawn technique. Ooh.